the thing I think it did best was for the year prior, everybody had been talking about the Forbidden Door. They've been talking about who's going to come in next and challenge for that world championship and all that. And in that singular moment after Christian lost in those, next few minutes, we took the focus off the Forbidden Door and anybody else that can get involved, and we put the focus solely on two Impact stars. This is Impact Wrestling star Josh Alexander. You can catch me on Sportskeeda Wrestling.
So, Mr. Josh Alexander, we were all rooting for you at the last pay-per-view. Everyone wanted that fairy tale moment against Christian Cage, which happened. And then the ultimate swerve happened. How far in advance did you know that something like that was going to be pulled? And how were you okay with it?
I mean, the proper way to answer this is to say I had no idea that was going to happen until it actually happened and all that other stuff. And in a perfect world, I know that would be the reality. But I had heard from pretty much the moment I was told I was going to be main eventing Bound for Glory against Christian and giving that opportunity that would probably, like, it wasn't set in stone or 100%, I don't think, but it was definitely an idea that was thrown out there, and I knew it was a possibility going into it. And, it didn't break my heart or anything like that. Me, as a wrestler, I enjoy crafting a match, being out there with the pressure, at its highest, and that was that main event spot against Christian for the World Championship, regardless of the outcome or what hardware I got to travel with, afterwards. So I in fact, I love the idea. I thought it was great booking and writing from a perspective of, it upset a lot of fans and got a lot more fans invested in me and behind me for, the chase going out of here. But the thing I think it did best was for the year prior, everybody had been talking about the Forbidden Door. They've been talking about who's going to come in next and challenge for that world championship and all that. And in that singular moment after Christian lost in those, next few minutes, we took the focus off the Forbidden Door and anybody else that can get involved, and we put the focus solely on two Impact stars vying for that world championship in that moment. So I think it was a good way to flip the script from what had been previously done for the year.
And just segueing off that, I mean, the way that you have been behaving on Impact Wrestling episodes, would you say there's a shade of gray? There's a little bit of a heel there?
I think, if you were to ask Tommy Dreamer or, some other people in the back that have been around for a long time, they would say that there is always an essence of a heel in me, the way I wrestle, the way I act, and all this other stuff. And, to a certain extent, that's true. I have grown up being told the frame of mind of, like, the Stone Cold Steve Austin is that he didn't change the way he wrestled regardless of being a babyface or a heel, and it was something that I really took to heart. So I'm not going to change the way I wrestle. I'm always going to be aggressive. I'm always going to do the things I need to do to win a match. But if you look at the history of my entire run here in Impact Wrestling, even as one of the biggest heels as a tag team in the North, I never cheated. I may have been more aggressive or been willing to do things that other people might not be willing to do, but that's not going to change.
So what do you think of Jonah as an opponent? Have you followed his career outside of Impact Wrestling as well?
Yeah, I was as far as independent wrestling goes, I followed everything from when he came over from Australia and had, like, the stuff in PWG that really got him his notoriety. And then, on to NXT, I followed a little bit of that there. And, I think he's a tremendous wrestler, a great asset to any company. And I think that, the combination of the two of us is something I'm really looking forward to, because there's not that many super heavyweights out there in the wrestling landscape that can put on the type of matches that I think Jonah can put on. So I think we're going to do something special at Hard to Kill.
In fact, I mean, whenever the question of the best Impact matches ever is brought up, one of the matches that is spoken about is Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. And I mean, people compare you to Kurt Angle all the time. People compare Jonah to Samoa Joe all the time. So do you think it's like the second part of that? I don't know, reloaded
Yeah.
with that. Yeah.
Well, like I remember, like the big moment from building to that match was when Kurt Angle came in and headbutted Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe rose up behind and bleeding from the forehead, and that was like the start of their match. And like certainly that wasn't what started off the feud between myself and Jonah, but he laid me out, he left me bloody and coughing up blood and all this other stuff. So you can draw certain similarities there, and people already compare me to Kurt Angle and him to Samoa Joe. So I think that there's going to be a clash of styles that it's gonna, we're going to complement each other much like Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe did.
Awesome. Well, I spoke to you before you wrestled Christian Cage. You spoke about what him being an idol of yours and everything else. Was it everything you expected it to be, the match that you had with him?
Yeah, it was everything I expected to be, and then more. I can sit here and I can talk about some of the greatest matches I've ever had and stuff, and I can tell you that I don't like any of them at the end of the day, because there's always something I can find in that match that I could have done better or I would have done differently, because hindsight is always 2020. And like Christian Cage, that whole match, there's certainly a part of that there too. But you have to like really take a step back and look at it, and I'm forever grateful for the experience and the opportunity I got to be able to showcase myself. Impact Wrestling management here, they trusted me with that spot, and they gave me the ball, and I don't think I dropped it. And that's all I can ask from that opportunity. And I got to learn from one of the greatest ever in Christian Cage. So, it was great.
So if you look at the Hard to Kill kind of lineup, would you say that someone like Cardona is in the spot that you were in? He's the underdog, he's the babyface, everybody wants him to become the champion. So he has your fairy tale moment happening right now.
Yeah, certainly. There's always going to be a babyface the crowd wants to get behind and root for, and especially going up in a match against two giants like Moose, who it's no secret that people do not like him, which is his job, and Morrissey as well. Cardona's got the deck stacked against him, as they like to say, and people are vying for the good guy to come out on top. Everybody likes rooting for the underdog, including myself. And, I hope Cardona can do it. Certainly when I get my revenge on Moose, and I will say when, because it's not a matter of if, it is when it does happen. I hope that he is good enough to retain that Impact World Championship until then, because it would be that much sweeter to defeat him for that championship and not just defeat him and, put egg on his face. But, if Cardona can squeeze it out, I think he certainly has everything it takes to be a world champion. And whether or not he got to show that at other companies, he's certainly showing it here at Impact Wrestling. So I'll be rooting for him as well.
Amazing. I mean, taking you back in time, you used to be a part of these press pass podcasts, like Impact Wrestling press pass podcast, and back in the day, I mean, you used to say that you are the walking weapon for a reason. You do your talking in the ring. But if you look at your character right now, you are cutting like the fiercest promos. Do you think Scott D'Amore brings out the best in you? And I mean, how has your character come to this point?
I think it's a natural evolution of like what it needs to be. For me to be considered a top guy, for me to be considered a main event star, I need to be able to, not only show what I can do in the ring, which is the thing I'm certainly most comfortable and confident in, but I need to be able to, walk and talk outside of the ring. And I think Scott D'Amore, among other people in this company over the past year, have challenged me, I would say, the most to, kind of rise up, show what I can do. And there's certain stumbling points that you come across, but for the most part, I think that with all the help they've given me and all this other stuff, I've been able to really evolve and grow as a performer outside of the ring, which I think was the only part that was really lacking before, and the only part that people could really give me a knock ever before. And now I find myself to be a complete performer outside and inside the ring.
So I had a chance to speak to Ethan Page a few days ago, I think leading into their last pay-per-view. And I asked him if the North belongs in the same conversation as, say, FTR and the Young Bucks as one of the all-time great tag teams. And he said, yes, he believes that you guys belong in the same conversation. Do you agree with this assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can take anything away from us from a perspective of what we produced in the ring. The only knock that you have against us in comparison to FTR and the Young Bucks is the body of work. It hasn't been as long and on a big stage like them. But if you take out every single match we had, the entire run we had, and you match it up, I think we were as consistent and over delivered just as much as those two teams. So I think we do belong in the conversation as one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Amazing. Great answer. So now that Ethan is no longer at the company, if you had to team up with somebody, is there somebody you think you could have the same kind of chemistry with?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've said remain pretty steadfast that I do not want to ever tag with anybody else because that chemistry was there, was so special. I think it is so rare. But he's not a member of the Impact roster per se. He is competing at Hard to Kill and defending his Ring of Honor World Championship against Chris Sabin. Sorry. So I would have to pick John Grisham because I don't think there's anybody I've ever been in the ring with that I felt that kind of chemistry as an opponent before. So if we have chemistry as opponents, I think as a tag team, it would just be a perfect fit.
Amazing, man. So why should people in India order the pay-per-view?
Well, not only to see me completely mop the floor in Dallas with Jonah and enjoy myself while I do it, but from the main event all the way down, you have Moose defending his championship against Matt Cardona and Morrissey. And I think Morrissey and Cardona are two just like really underrated talents that, you might not have seen the best of them. You might have be putting a label on them for what they did or what they were supposed to be at another company. But since they've shown at Impact Wrestling, they have shown that they are main eventers through and through. The first ever Knockouts Ultimate X match. That's probably like the number one thing I'm going to be at the monitor watching because I think everybody in that match is so hungry to over deliver because that match, there's been women's ladder matches, there's been women's cage matches, Hell in the Cell, whatever you want to name, but I think that Ultimate X, even for us when we did it last July at Slammiversary, it holds this different allure, and it's the thing that's never been done for the Knockouts ever. So every single person competing in that match is going to have this chip on their shoulder to go out there and show out and steal the show, and I can't wait to watch it.
So I know you mentioned that you wanted the focus to be on Impact Wrestling, but I mean, this question is bound to come up. Is there a free agent out there that you want to see at the pay-per-view?
Oh, well, look, I mean, John Grisham was the number one answer right there for me, but yeah, there's a handful of guys. I think that, the forbidden door certainly isn't closed. I think it's just something that, has been kind of the focus has been moved away from, but I would love to see, Ishii would be one of my first picks from New Japan to show up at the pay-per-view, somebody from New Japan, because I think that they have one of the most complete rosters in all of pro wrestling. And if we could, tie it up with them and show we can compete with them, I think that's going to showcase us on a completely different levels.